If you're working, make sure you watch this video because I'm going to share with you your most valuable asset that you have to offer the employer. Hey everybody, it's Brian from A Life After Layoff, and today I want to talk to you about a concept I've been thinking a lot about lately. Now, if you came here looking for some elusive career advice on how to get noticed by that employer, I have a bunch of other videos for that, but this one is actually not for that purpose. This one is actually more for you as the job seeker and as the job candidate and really the career-minded person. So I want to take this a little bit higher level, a little bit more esoteric, and give you some broader concepts to think about because I think this is really, truly important and impactful for a vast majority of us who approach the working world without any set of strategic plans. But before we get too far into it, if you're interested in more videos just like this one on how to further your career, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Let's talk about the most valuable asset that you have in your career. So I know many of you are thinking, hey, it's probably got to be a skill set that I've developed. It might be, I got to niche down. That's what it is. I got to really niche down and I got to have a unique skill set. And I'm actually going to say, no, that's not the most valuable thing that you have. It's not an education. It's not a skill set that you've developed that's different from everybody else. It's not experience that you have. It's not an industry that you've worked in. It's not any of those things. The most valuable asset that you have to offer an employer is your time. Because when you look at your career holistically across the entirety of it, when we enter into the workforce, we generally only have 40 years to work. And I say only, and I'm sure a lot of people are rolling their eyes saying, yeah, 40 years seems like a long time. But go and ask somebody that's on the tail end of their career. And if you're watching this and you're on the tail end of your career, chime in and let me know. Do you feel, looking back at your career at this point, do you see it? I almost feel like you can look at it as kind of subdivisions. And even in age, as we get older, I think we can start to look back at our, the 20s seem like a blur, the 30s seem like you're still figuring out yourself, the 40s seem to be another phase, the 50s, the 60s, all the way up until, one day you wake up one day and you're 90 years old and you kind of wonder where your life went and you kind of look back with regret. And so I think a lot of people in their career do the same thing. And I think an even bigger concept is people don't truly know where they want to go. So they end up at the end of their tail end of their career, the twilight of their career, and they look back and they go, gosh, I just wasted almost the biggest chunk of time in my life. Because when you look at the amount of time percentage-wise that you spend at work, it rivals the amount of time that you sleep in your entire life. And the time that you spend with your family. So it's basically a third of your life is spent doing that. In some cases, some of you, it's probably even more. But most of us don't have a defined strategy. We enter into the workforce at year one. We know we got to get to age 65 for most of us. And we just kind of start working. And we don't really have a plan of where we want to go. We don't have that guiding principle that kind of leads us in that direction. And we just kind of hope for the best. And I think that's where a lot of people get into year 20 of their career, or maybe 15, 20, halfway, the midpoint. And then they look back and they go, gosh, I'm just not that satisfied with what I'm doing. And then, you look at, okay, do I continue to stay the course or do I put it in reverse and start to try to go down a different path? And for many of us, we discover that it's painful because now you've got mortgages, you've got kids in college, you've got commitments, you got certain lifestyle, and to back it up to square one again and start over again doesn't seem to be an option. So then you commit to a job or a career path that you're just not satisfied with because now you're stuck in it. And I think that's where a lot of people, when they come to me on one-on-one consultations with career issues or career dissatisfaction, it kind of boils down to that piece of, I don't really know what I want to do, but it's too hard for me to back up and go the other way. I'm too committed or too vested into this specific type of thing. So we don't look at our careers from that 40-year perspective and calculate out in a very real, a real format where we actually plan it out and we know exactly where we're going and we know how much time we can dedicate to each position because we know a certain roadmap of our career. We know we got to be in a certain area or we have to be in a certain job type at a certain time, and otherwise we're not going to hit our goal. So most people do not plan out their career that way, and essentially they start giving their precious gift away because time is the one thing that you can't get back, and we only have a certain amount of it. And so as you as you work each year of your life, you're taking, it's like the sand on the hourglass starts to fall, and you're not able to get that back. So if you are spending time working in a career path and you aren't passionate about it, just keep in mind that you only have a definitive amount. And for many of us, 20 years it seems like a long time in a career where you get to the midway point, but 20 years is not, in some cases, it does not feel like it's enough time to truly reach a lot of our career goals. And especially if you have kind of lofty goals, or maybe you want to start a business or something like that, you're kind of playing catch up. So if you are somebody in a job that you're just not passionate about, you really need to think about that. And if you're somebody that is very apathetic, who has kind of just fallen into a complacency in your job because it's convenient, it's easy, nobody's really, it's not hard for you, maybe you are bored with it, but it's easier just to kind of stay complacent. And then you kind of atrophy, your career muscles atrophy to the point where you're wasting all those years away. And if you don't have a career aspiration, or you're in the wrong career aspiration, or if you're somebody that doesn't have a career aspiration, then that's an indicator to you that you're probably doing the wrong thing, or that you haven't soul searched enough. Unless you're independently wealthy, which, let's face it, most of us are not, and most of us are going to have to work until we retire or until we're ready to retire. But unless you're independently wealthy, you have to have a career, and you have two choices. You can either do something you're not passionate about, or you can pivot into something that you are passionate about. But you only have a certain amount of time to do that. So as you're in your career and you're making decisions based on, should I stay in a bad job? Should I stay in a bad situation? Should I stay in a career that I'm not passionate about? Keep in mind that the hourglass is ticking, and every day that you spend doing something that you're not truly passionate about is a day that you can't get back. You can replace your income, you can replace benefits, you can replace job titles, and all of that stuff. In case there's an employment decision or an adverse employment decision, or you decide to leave and do something different, you can replace all of those things, but you can never replace the time that you've lost. So if you're somebody that's been sitting on the fence wondering whether or not you should truly follow your passion, truly make a change that is going to better you and give you the career satisfaction that you have really wanted in your career, and maybe it's something completely different than what you've been doing. Maybe you're in a career path that you're just, or an industry or a job vertical that you're just not into, and you don't even know what you want to do. In those cases, you kind of have a blank slate. You can really create something that you're truly passionate about if you know what you're doing. So take the time and take your time back and take your ownership of your career back and treat yourself like a free agent that only has a certain amount of time. And I know I come back to this sports analogy because I haven't thought of a better one yet, to be honest with you, but it just really seems to be relevant. So if you have a free agent in sports, they come in as a young up-and-comer, they hit their prime at a certain point, and then there's kind of a bell curve, like where they hit their prime and then they go down, and then they hit, retirement age a lot sooner than most of us. But in sports, you only have a certain amount of time where you have your peak earning potential, your peak career potential before you start to kind of go down the other side. And are you going to spend your peak career potential working on a team that you're not interested in, or working in a position that you're not interested, or maybe it's a different sport altogether that you want to get into? But if you spend too much time and you're a free agent, your agent is coming to you and saying, listen, this is the best possible time for you to make the highest amount of money. It's time to get out of this dead end team that's not going to pay you what you need, or give you the opportunity to, if you say you want to be a starter somewhere and you're always riding the bench, that's a free agent is going to leave that team and go find somewhere that is a better fit for them. And especially during the uprise on their career. If you wait till the peak or the after peak, now you're competing with all the people that are on the peak, So it becomes a lot more difficult, and the competition becomes a lot more stiff. And if you're trying to get into another career vertical that's like a traditional job, all the people from college and all the people who are rising up through the ranks that are coming behind you, if you decide to put your car in reverse and go back a couple steps to try to pivot into a new career, just keep in mind that all those people that are behind you, that are coming up behind you, they're all moving into those jobs. So you've got a lot more competition ahead of you. So the longer that you wait to make a pivot into a new career, the harder it's going to be for you. And again, if you're somebody that is just not interested in working a career and you want to have your own business, or you want to be an entrepreneur, or you want to work from home for yourself, there's no better time to start than right now. Because if I had $1 for every time I thought about a business idea or a multiple stream of income, and I thought about it and then didn't do something about it, and then a year later I saw somebody else starting something similar, and a year later I look back at them and I go, oh my gosh, they've done so much, and then I think like, if I would have just done something a year ago, how much further along I would be instead of just sitting on my hands. So I'm sure you have those types of situations in your life. Don't wait around to make the changes that you need in order to truly live your fulfilling life, because you're going to wake up one day and that hourglass is going to be emptying very, very rapidly. So if you're in a situation where you are working in a dead-end job, you're working in a dead-end career, you're working in a place where you're being blocked from your true potential, you're working in a place where you're apathetic, or you have kind of atrophied and you have just become complacent, you need to think long and hard about, is that truly your best and most meaningful purpose in your working career? Honestly, you can extrapolate this even to your personal life. The situations that you're in. We only have a certain amount of time on this planet. And every year spent doing something that is not truly for our sole purpose is a year wasted that you'll never get back again. So, but I don't want to get too esoteric on you, but I want to focus it in on careers specifically. But I want you to really think about that. Are you doing truly what you want to do, and what is stopping you from actually moving forward with what your true purpose is in your career? So again, you can't get that time back. It's time to start taking ownership in your career. It's time to start taking your time back from you, because that employer is happy to take your time. They're happy to take your time. And at the end of the day, when they're done with you, they're happy to throw you out, just like the free agent who gets cut from the team. And it's the cold hard reality of it. And again, we are free agents, and you have to treat yourself like a free agent. And if you're not treating yourself like a free agent, you're probably going to get cut from the team at some point, and you're going to wonder what happened when no other team wants to pick you up because you're too far past the prime. So don't let that happen to you. All right, I know that this was kind of a bit of a rant, but I wanted to stress the importance of people who are sitting on the fence and just, kind of the lack of this lack of inertia forward in their career. They kind of get complacent, and they kind of get they don't know where to go next. I want to give people the inspiration to start thinking bigger about this, that you have to start making definitive moves forward. You can't keep on staying in the same place. So start today with your action plan. Start today, even if it's just starting to chip away. Even if you just start brainstorming, just start putting ideas on paper. What's your ideal career? Is it a different vertical for you? Do you have to go back to school? Like, what is it? Is it a business idea? And put it on paper. That's a step in the right direction. It doesn't have to be something huge and world changing. Start small and just start making inertia forward, because again, the time is ticking for you. We don't get that back. And don't be somebody that looks back a year from now, 5 years from now, 15 years from now, or 20 years from now and regrets it. If you are interested in more videos like this, I sure would appreciate if you subscribed and you gave me a thumbs up, because that actually really helps the algorithm and it helps me get my message out to a broader audience. And I know that I threw a lot at you. Really appreciate you stopping by and listening to me rant for a few minutes. Hopefully somebody found some value in this kind of meaningless rambling. But I will see you on the next one, and appreciate you stopping by.